The Jeffrey Epstein case seems to be, well, not going away anytime soon. Now, I'm assuming everybody here is familiar with Jeffrey Epstein, his arrest, and suicide while in prison on charges of sex trafficking. Well, you see, now there's a federal judge, Ester Salas, who was in charge of investigating his business links to Deutsche Bank, and there is the allegation that Deutsche Bank should have done more to vet questionable people with questionable histories such as Jeffrey Epstein. Imagine that, a bank turning to a billionaire and saying, "We don't want your money." Frankly, in my opinion, that's pretty nonsense. When you're that powerful, when you're that rich, a bank is going to take you in no matter what. So I think it's even ridiculous to think that they would even vet him to begin with. But here's the point. Now that judge, her husband is now dead, and her son is dead, and her husband is in critical condition in New Jersey. A man who has yet to be fully identified went to their home dressed up as a FedEx delivery person, and when they answered the door, he shot both of them. He killed the son, injured the husband. Now, when you go after a judge who is presiding over a case like that, it can be very, very suspicious, as you imagine it would be. Except that there is kind of a history between the judge and the man that they say was the shooter. Now, that man has been found, and they claimed he committed suicide after the shooting. His name, allegedly, was Roy Den Hollander, and he actually had a lawsuit before Judge Salas in 2015 challenging the mail-only draft, according to a tweet from the New York Times. So they do have a history there. And he was suing, saying that it was unfair that only men were drafted for war, which, along with the New York Post and the Daily Beast, listed Hollander as the suspect. So currently it's believed that he was the shooter, and he's now committed suicide before he could answer any questions or even be investigated. Now, I normally wouldn't have thought this was anything significant. I would have tended to believe the official story unless there was some countervailing evidence. But the fact that this has everything to do with Epstein's business links, and it really does seem like that a judge was being intimidated by, for all we know, she could have been the actual target. But this was the best the guy could do, or maybe they were the intended targets. I mean, my gut says this is a lot more than some disgruntled former plaintiff. It really does. I mean, this feels like it could be more, given that it's attached to something that's so much bigger. Unfortunately, is there any evidence of that? No. And unfortunately, a gut feeling is not evidence. A gut feeling is just that, a feeling. And there's a big difference between proof and a gut feeling. But I mean, come on, I think we all have our suspicions here. We don't have any proof, but we all have our suspicions that this might be tied to something bigger. And I think it's fairly reasonable to really have that suspicion at this point. But we're going to have to wait and see if more information comes out. But again, my gut tells me there probably won't be much more information coming out in the future.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.